About a month ago, I made a recording, and I detailed an article I wrote for 9/11 blogger website titled "Max Blumenthal finds Robbie Martin not guilty of 9/11 truth," and I went through the exchange that Blumenthal had with Robert Mackey from The Intercept, who's trying to label Robbie Martin as a 9/11 truther and trying to use that label to slander her and to discredit her work. And of course, he was at the New York Times. Robert Mackey posted in the Times back in 2014 and used a video of Abby at a 9/11 Truth March from back in 2008 against her. Blumenthal responded to Mackey's criticism of Abby in the summer of 2016 by posting an episode of her old RT program, Breaking Set, that she did, and saying, here's his show, I defy you to find a trace of trutherism. And essentially by doing that, Max is saying that, at least the impression I got is he's saying that, she's not one of these crazy 9/11 truthers. She's not one of those people anymore. And I wrote an article about it for Blogger because I consider it a pretty big deal that a guy like Max Blumenthal, who was who's been very openly hostile in his attitude towards truthers, the people who advocate for September 11th truth and justice. Thought it was odd that he was openly basically defending Robbie Martin, somebody who's had a long history in the movement of not being involved in that stuff and of not having that stuff in her work. So that was really interesting to me. So I wrote the article, and after I wrote the article, Robbie Martin, Abby's brother, along with John Gold, another 9/11 activist, went to the people who run the 9/11 blogger website, who John has a good relationship with, and labeled me a stalker and a troll, and even insinuated that I could be some sort of physical threat to the Martins. And this is the tack that they took against me, rather than actually trying to logically debate and actually have a dialogue or a correspondence about the merits of what I had to say in the article. And then when I made the audio last month, they did the same thing. Or actually, well, Robbie didn't do anything. John Gold himself, he posted on his Facebook page calling me a stalker and a troll, and then did the same thing in the comments section on the YouTube video. And I repeatedly said, well, let's have a debate, let's talk about this, and he refused to, instead just deciding to take shots at me. It's unfortunate that that's the reaction I got from people who at least in the case of Robbie and of course Robbie Martin, I expected more out of them than just to resort to petty, character assassination, the type of activity that would be roundly condemned if someone was doing that to them. And it's very unfortunate that was how the path that they chose in responding to me. I strongly believe that any honest-minded, fair-minded person who actually takes the time to read the article I wrote, takes the time to listen to the audio that I recorded, will see that my criticism, my critiques, what I have to say is actually very much based in is very logical, it's reasonable, it's fair-minded, it's based in fact. I'm going out of my way not to make any false accusations about anybody. I'm not criticizing anyone personally. I'm trying to stick to facts as much as I possibly can in the process of analyzing all of this. And I admitted to some areas where I could have done things differently, but I was very fair-minded, and I don't have any. I think that anyone who takes the time to look at it or to listen to it would understand that. And I think that's the biggest part of the reason why they got so defensive and decided to get personal and try to discredit me based on false accusations that had nothing to do with the topic at hand. because I think they knew that if people actually would pay attention to what I said rather than trying to make it about my character, I think they realized that a lot of people would, at least on the probably in the blogger community, would probably have come down on my side, or at the least would have been raising some questions of their own with regards to everything that I had to say right about Max Blumenthal and the person he is, and some of the activities he's been involved with in the past, such as promoting the Benghazi official narrative that his father, who was of course an ally of Hillary Clinton, a long-time friend of the Clinton family, when he actively helped Hillary Clinton with a lot of the propaganda that led to the the destruction of Libya by Obama and Clinton and NATO. Sidney Blumenthal's involved in some of the worst propaganda of the Libya propaganda offensive, including the allegation that Muammar Gaddafi gave his soldiers Viagra to use for when raping women, which was just something that Gaddafi had ordered his soldiers to do, and that he gave them Viagra. That originated from Sidney Blumenthal, and that Max Blumenthal was the first writer to hypothesize that a anti-Islam film was the reason for the Benghazi attack, which is the official line that the White House and the Clinton State Department took. Max posted in the Guardian within 2 days of the attack that the attack was the result of an anti-Islam film, which of course was the cover story that the Clinton State Department, the Obama administration, used, while the right meanwhile went with this wild goose chase and tried to turn it into unpatriotic liberals and letting Americans die, when it seems like the reality was actually much more sinister than that, where it appears that the actual purpose of Benghazi was serving as a type of weapon smuggling to militants and to groups that are creating chaos in not just Libya but now in Syria as well. So that was those are the kind of things I posted in my article, and I simply asked the question: why is someone like Max Blumenthal be so praiseworthy, and why is he heaping so much praise on people like the Martins, who are ostensibly they oppose ostensibly or against the things that Blumenthal has supported, like anti 9/11 truth, as well as actively being involved in propaganda efforts to destroy against enemies of the U.S. government and of the Western power structure. And so it's interesting that Max Blumenthal put out an endorsement for Abby's Empire Files program, has participated in speaking panels with her, endorsed Robbie Martin's series of films about the neocons that he says are pro 9/11 truth films, but that interestingly enough have pretty much omitted any actual research into the September 11th attacks, and which makes sense when you consider that Blumenthal put out a ringing endorsement of a film that he probably would not have endorsed if it contained what he considers to be trutherism. That's the information I laid out in the article, and I laid out the case that if Max Blumenthal is able to influence discourse like this, then what does it mean for truth pursuits in general? Not just September 11th, but in general. And I feel that the Martins, particularly Abby Martin, does a lot of very important work. Her trip to Venezuela was a very important one that she just returned from. I believe she's returned from it. And I've never denied that. I've never doubted that. Jeremy and I have both praised Abby Martin for the important work that she has done over the years. But I feel that when you omit the analysis of the importance of events like September 11th in shaping the world, and in the importance that the official myths of events like this hold over the hearts and minds of the people, and when you omit this analysis from your critiques of the establishment, I feel that it negatively affects your work. And I think that the overall Abby Martin's work has suffered as a result of downplaying and in many cases omitting altogether a critical analysis of events like September 11th and other deep state crimes or state crimes against democracy, as Lance DeHaven Smith has referred to them. And this is all the information I laid out in the article and in the audio that I made, and I feel that it was very fair-minded, and the result was that I was, they used personal attacks against me to try to discredit the actual merits of what I was, of the points that I made. So fast forward a month later, and the Seth Rich story has been going on, and obviously this has gotten a lot of coverage and attention within the alternative media. I personally am choosing not to take a stance on this matter. That's an issue that Jeremy and I have gone over on our on one of our previous programs. I don't really feel the need to go in depth into my reasoning on that matter again. But I have respect for the independent-minded bloggers and people out there who are asking serious questions about what happened to Seth Rich and raising questions about the possibility that it was indeed that he may have indeed been killed by elements within the DNC, people close to the Clintons, because of the because he was the person who leaked the DNC information proving that the primary was stolen from Bernie Sanders. I mean, considering the Clintons' track record, I don't think we can dismiss something like this as being, the possibility of something like this being a reality. And there are a lot of I think people who have a negative influence that are involved in this whole Seth Rich story. People like Sean Hannity and this Rod Wheeler private investigator, as well as Newt Gingrich going on Fox News and saying that his murder needs to be investigated and we need to find out the truth. But I mean, that said, though, there are good independent analysts and journalists who are putting forth theories and doing research into this, and I have respect for those people. Robbie Martin, on the other hand, just seems to be very, very hostile towards anyone who is raising serious questions about this incident. And it's interesting to me that he has taken such a hostile tone towards these people. And I think the thing that I've noticed that he's done the most is use tactics that I would describe as guilt by association. Instead of going after some of the bloggers, journalists who are involved in putting out information about this. Caitlin Johnstone is a good example. I have some reservations about some of the work she's done. I don't particularly believe that progressives forming an alliance with Mike Cernovich is a good idea with people like Cernovich. But in general, I've read a lot of her work, and she's seems like a pretty damn good journalist. She seems pretty spot on about a lot of things. But Robbie Martin's response, instead of to actually have a conversation or a dialogue with her, a productive dialogue with her, was to criticize her because she was getting a lot of retweets from people who he classifies as being in the alt-right. And to Robbie, this is like the biggest evil that someone would promote. The alt-right would promote you. And Robbie seems like he's way more concerned with who retweets certain people that are investigating this case, or things that they post. Like he's accused the DNC lawyer of posting, the DNC lawsuit lawyer Jared Beck, of posting borderline Nazi symbols on his social media accounts. And in addition to criticizing Jared Beck's his hair, his beard, and his facial hair, he's been going after him for retweets that he receives from alt-right people, as well as his what he claims are Nazi flags that he retweets. And I mean, it's just very much guilt by association, and he's just using he's getting personal with people, and I don't think that that's a productive way to critique something like this. Although I do believe there are valid reasons to critique it, as the people that are involved in the case, as well as the timing of it, and so there are valid reasons. But I mean, I think that he's taking it in the wrong direction with getting personal with people, and and he'd rather critique people based on who retweets them than on what they're actually saying. And I mean, I got a major problem with someone like Robbie Martin. He's making a big deal out of journalistic standards and ethics and all that, and making a big deal about condemning people based on who they associate with. I mean, it's a guy who, Max Blumenthal is still openly promoting his sister's work. And he's got close friendships and relationships with Rania Khalek and Benjamin Norton, who have been have taken a very negative tone towards that 9/11 truth movement. Benjamin Norton just a couple of years ago was criticizing Abby Martin for being a conspiracy theorist. Of course, Mike Preisner, who's Abby's helps Abby with the Empire Files, her significant other, he's stated that 9/11 truth is racist. Yet Robbie Martin has no problem rubbing shoulders with these people, and he has no problem with that, and that's perfectly fine. Getting retweets and tweeting and being buddy and getting endorsements from Max Blumenthal is perfectly fine, but my lord, if Caitlin Johnstone says anything about Mike Cernovich that is portraying him as being anything less than the devil incarnate, then oh boy, she's completely discredited herself. I mean, the hypocrisy is astounding here, and I've got a major problem with it. I mean, as long as Robbie Martin continues to associate, and Robbie and Abby Martin continue to associate with and rub shoulders with and have close relationships with people who are openly, publicly very hostile to the 9/11 truth movement, as well as up until recently were publicly promoting the lies about Syria and what's going on in Syria. I mean, Blumenthal, Norton, and Khalek, all up until about a year ago, were all solidly, firmly in the anti-Assad bandwagon. They were all very solidly pushing the pro-Western, pro-rebel narrative, quote rebel narrative, the narrative that Assad the Butcher was just a mass murderer, and he's to blame for the conflict and all that. And of course, Rania Khalek was hosting Molly Crabapple on her podcast to lament about how terrible, how these mean anti-imperialists are giving her such a hard time because she's propagating against the government and propagating against the for the Western propaganda line. It's so terrible. She's this poor Molly, and Rania gave her the platform for that. And Max Blumenthal was attacking a Syrian nun for questioning the chemical weapons account, Mother Agnes, and applauding a left anti-war conference when Mother Agnes ended up pulling out because of pressure, because people like Max Blumenthal and others were putting pressure on the forum, and because an Assad apologist was going to speak. So, I mean, up until a year ago, these people were continuing 100% pushing this line, and I mean, I don't think they've ever actually tried to make amends for it. I don't think they've apologized. Rania Khalek, to her credit, has tried to explain in an interview with Mint Press News why her change of heart on the matter, and I don't know if she's telling the truth or not, but they've never apologized. Max Blumenthal's never even tried to address his past discretions and his past complicity in pushing official government propaganda. He's never apologized. He's never even acknowledged it. He pretends like it never happened. Meanwhile, he was still attended his father's book signing, or his grand release for his book on Abraham Lincoln just last summer. I mean, he continues to pretend like this never happened, but it's perfectly okay as long as he's Abby Martin's friend, for someone like Robbie Martin to have a friendship and a relationship, and to retweet and get promotions and endorsements from Max Blumenthal, someone with his background and has been involved in these kind of propaganda operations. That's perfectly fine as long as he's friends with Abby. But Caitlin Johnstone, how dare you, in any way, shape, or form, either have any sort of communication with Mike Cernovich or get retweets and likes from alt-right people. That's just inexcusable. I mean, the hypocrisy is astounding, and it's very important here because to me, this shows more than a healthy skepticism about the Seth Rich narrative. To me, it shows that this is how someone who is actively trying to keep people from looking into these things acts. This is how they behave. I mean, they go personal against the people that are raising awareness and the information about it, and Robbie seems to be acting in a way where it's more being done to try to discourage people from looking into it, and is just a hostility to the actual asking and raising of questions about what may or may not have happened here. And to me, it's just another sign that, much like Robbie won't get into Robbie and Abby won't get into many of the more damning aspects of September 11th research to go beyond Saudi Arabia and hijackers and missing pages of the 9/11 report. It seems that now he's actively trying to discourage people from looking into an event like this and really at raising the serious questions that need to be asked. And so this is a problem, and I just think that the hypocrisy of him going after people for guilt by association is absolutely astounding. And I just hope that maybe perhaps we can have a dialogue about this, but I won't get my hopes up. And John Gold, if you're out there listening to this, if you want to come on and act like a surrogate again, because Robbie doesn't have the courage to try to rebut what I'm saying, then feel free, be my guest. But I'll just warn you, in the process of that, you're showing your hand, so tread carefully. But I welcome a free dialogue. I welcome a debate about this. And once again, I just say, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong and tell me where I'm wrong. I challenge you to do that instead of resorting to personal attacks and slander and character assassination. Thank you.